The rain struck the mansion's wide glass windows like the pounding of guilt that had long lingered beneath its marble floors. Inside, the scent of lavender and expensive candles masked the coldness of a house too polished to feel like home. In the hallway, a soft whimper broke the silence, a sound too small to be noticed in most homes. But in this mansion, it echoed like thunder. Little Ella, barely 6, with curls the color of honey and eyes wide like the sky before a storm, clutched her favorite stuffed bunny and peeked around the corner. What she saw would etch itself into her heart forever. Her nanny, the only mother she'd ever truly known, stood trembling near the grand oak door, a suitcase by her side, her uniform wrinkled and damp with tears. Miriam, 39, with warm brown skin and a voice that could sing lullabies into dreams, stood with her shoulders drawn up, her gaze lowered in shame. Mr. Whitaker, the stern-faced millionaire whose empire stretched across cities, stood opposite her, arms crossed, face as cold as the marble busts lining the hallway. And Mrs. Whitaker, elegant in appearance and distant in presence, tapped her French manicured nails on her phone, not even looking up. If she's caught overstepping again. Mr. Whitaker's voice cut like a blade. She's gone. We've given her enough chances. And now, she was gone. But before the door could shut behind Miriam, Ella let out a cry so piercing, so raw, it froze everyone in place. Please don't take my mommy, she screamed, her tiny feet thudding against the wooden floor as she ran toward Miriam. Please, she's my mommy. Please don't let her go. If you believe in the power of kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unseen love, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Around US. Your support helps us tell more stories that matter. The words landed like a hammer against Mr. Whitaker's heart, but pride can be a thick wall, and tonight it held firm. He turned, expression unreadable, and walked away. The door closed with a dull thud, shutting out not just the rain but the only light that had ever existed in Ella's world. Miriam stood in the storm, suitcase soaked within seconds. She wanted to cry out to hold Ella, to explain, but she had nothing, no job, no rights, no voice, only memories. Back inside, Ella refused to eat. She wouldn't speak to her mother, who rarely had time for her. Her father's towering presence, once a symbol of safety, now felt like a stranger's shadow. Days passed, then weeks. Ella grew quieter, thinner, and paler, like a flower left in the dark. But this story didn't begin with a goodbye. It began years earlier on a night just like the rainy evening. Miriam had come to the Whitakers as a temporary housemaid, fresh out of a women's shelter with a young son of her own. She took the job desperate to survive. Her first weeks were filled with scrubbing, organizing, and silence. She was invisible, just how the rich liked it. Until one night, a cry echoed through the mansion. Ella, a baby then, had been left unattended. Her parents out at a gala. A nanny had quit that very morning. No one noticed the child but Miriam, who ran and scooped the fever baby in her arms and stayed by her side all night. From that moment on, Miriam became more than the maid. She became Ella's comfort, her caretaker, her joy. She taught her to walk, to talk, to read. She fed her when the family chef prepared adult meals too complex for a toddler. She sang lullabies when thunder shook the mansion's glass walls. And every birthday, when the parents were absent on business trips or luxury cruises, it was Miriam who baked the cake, wrapped the gifts, and made Ella feel seen. But in a world like the Whitakers, love from the help came with a price. Mrs. Whitaker disapproved of the bond. It's not healthy, she had once whispered to her husband. She is a maid, not a mother. And when Ella started calling Miriam mommy in front of guests, the tension reached a breaking point. Still, Miriam stayed, enduring long hours, quiet insults, and rules that changed like the one doll for Ella. Until one day, Ella had a nightmare and rushed into her parents' room, crying. But it wasn't them she wanted, it was Miriam. And in that moment, Mrs. Whitaker made up her mind. "You're interfering with our family structure," she told Miriam coldly. "It's inappropriate. Your contract ends today." Miriam pleaded, not for herself, but for Ella. But her voice, as always, was drowned beneath the thunder of wealth outside. Miriam found herself at the bus stop, soaked and heartbroken, clutching the worn bunny toy she had left behind once and came back to return. She knew what it meant to lose everything. She'd escaped an abusive relationship to protect her son. She built her life back with her bare hands, and yet, losing Ella felt like losing a piece of her soul. And Ella, she stopped smiling. She stopped speaking in full sentences. One day, she sat silently for hours staring at a family photo with Miriam gently cropped out of it. But fate, strange and stubborn, doesn't always bend to the rules of power. One morning, while dropping off documents at his firm, Mr. Whitaker's assistant handed him a small package. No return address. Inside, a notebook, Ella's, and it were drawings, hundreds of her and Miriam. In the garden, in the kitchen, under the stars, hugging, laughing. One drawing had a caption in shaky 6-year-old handwriting, "My mommy and me." For the first time in years, the cold-blooded businessman felt something fracture. He remembered his own childhood, the governess who raised him, dismissed when she grew too close. He'd cried for weeks, forgotten the pain, until now. That night, he returned home to find Ella sitting in the dark, still awake. "She's not coming back, is she?" she asked softly. The words clung to the air. That was the moment everything began to change. Whitaker, to the shock of everyone, began searching for Miriam, not just with a call but personally. He tracked down the agency, traveled to old addresses, even reached out to the shelter she once stayed in. It took weeks, but he found her, working double shifts at a small daycare, supporting her now teenage son, exhausted yet kind-eyed as ever. He apologized, not with grand speeches but with quiet truth. "I made a mistake," he said, "and my daughter has paid the price." Miriam listened, unsure whether it was forgiveness or protection she was being offered. But when she heard Ella's voice on the phone choked with tears, whispering, "Please come home," her heart had no choice but to say yes. When Miriam walked back into the mansion, Ella ran like the wind across the hallway, wrapping her arms around her waist, sobbing into her stomach. "You came back," she whispered. And Miriam, with tears of her own, whispered back, "I never left you." The Whitakers made changes, real ones. Mrs. Whitaker, once rigid and proud, softened not out of guilt alone, but understanding. She saw the happiness in her daughter's eyes. For the first time, she asked Miriam about herself. Even invited Miriam's son, James, to visit. James, once hidden away, proved brilliant. Mr. Whitaker took an interest, offered mentorship, and helped fund his college application process. The mansion no longer echoed with emptiness. It was filled with laughter, warmth, and shared dinners not just served by Miriam, but shared with her. Because sometimes, family isn't who we're born to, but who stays up with us when we're sick, who dances with us in the rain, who listens when we're sad, and who never lets go, even when they're forced to walk away. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share it with someone who believes in the healing power of kindness. And don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Around Us, so we can continue sharing stories that remind the world what love truly looks like. Special request, please comment below. What's the kindest act someone has ever done for you, or you've witnessed? Your story might inspire someone today.